It's the dawn of a brand new era. We've talked about Creator Series and how incredible it has been on Race to Race to Race, but now it is the iRacing era that we move ourselves into. It's 12 rounds, it's 12 weeks, it is 12 amazing different types of racing that we are going to jump in, and we are stoked. I'm Jake Sperry, that is John Isamusing Harris, along with me for the ride here today. And John, as we sit and wait and look at where we start today, we go old school for today's action because we're jumping in Lotus 79s and we are at Monza Combined.
Yes, indeed. Who would have thought taking road racing and oval racing is a good combination? We're about to find that out today. But yeah, I'm so stoked. Taking Formula 1 cars around this track is outrageous. And thankfully, we have the opportunity to demonstrate that at home rather than on the actual racetrack. Because these cars are mentally fast and the drivers have been commenting on that since they started practice. And some of them are sometimes even struggling to complete a practice lap. So qualifying will be like a test of fate for some of them.
It absolutely will, and it's all about the creators as we get ourselves set and ready for action here today, because these creators have all sat down and said, we want to make this challenge here and fight for this championship, something a little bit different to what they may have done previously before. So it will be a big, important challenge for them to say, this is the level we want to reach here, John, and now it's about who is the most versatile driver who's going to win the championship.
We've got a little bit of everything from GT3s to Formula 1 to dirt trucks to rallycross. I mean, there's a little bit to suit everybody. And of course, the winner at the end of the season is going to be the most adaptable, as you say. And it takes a lot on iRacing to make sure that you get all of the little tips and tricks for every single car, and I can tell you they are going to have to be on their A1 game every single time. But of course, as every racing series in existence, you also have to survive against everybody. And we know that everybody wants to be first into turn one. Thankfully today, turn one might actually be flat out.
It very much can be, and it will be here today, as we will take the oval banking for turns 1 and 2, or 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's use NASCAR convention for it, and then the rest of the circuit will come into play. We are just about jumping over towards qualifying action, and so that will be 15 minutes in order to set a time. No lap time essentially is going to be unlocked, but let's talk about what we're doing over the course of this season, John, because this is a case of we have got different races that come along for each and everything that we are doing, and well, the safest way to say it is there's a little something for everyone, but it's a case of America takes most of the control for the championship.
Indeed it does. However, I'm looking at the calendar as well. We've got the Rallycross there in Crandon, which I'm looking forward to. The Indy 500, you can't miss that either. But also the sting in the tail at the end with Williams in Nürburgring. That is going to be an impressive one as well. So, yeah, obviously half and half between Europe and the US. I love to see that as well, because there's some great tracks in the US as well. They're sometimes forgotten, and here they are full on display.
Absolutely they are, and of course I am keeping my eyes firmly set on the FF 1600s at Lime Rock Park. But a little look then as they are in open qualifying conditions here for how they set, which means all cars are going to be out there qualifying on track together. When 15 minutes expires, the session also expires, so they have to be at their best finding the lap times. In fact, they may just be able to get lap times in once the checkered flag comes out. But this is the outlaps that they're currently working on at the moment. Brendan Hyperstar is currently there, no stranger to going very quick when it comes to in four wheels. He's part of Team i5G out there on iRacing, John, and that means he might be the favourite when the Indy 500 rolls around.
There's a lot of class drivers here that have a lot of iRacing experience. You know, Ryan Littlemore, for example, Ryan L83, as some might know him, has been racing on iRacing since 2013, and I'm sure a lot of other drivers have been here at least a decade, and they love this game, they love the simulation, and they love driving all of the cars here. And I just want to comment already here, I think we're seeing a strategy take place in qualifying of using other people's slipstreams to get the best time. Will we see drivers working together in groups to try and get the best lap times? and basically handing over position to another driver so that they can set a fastest lap. It's an interesting dynamic, that one, and not one that I thought about before the event, but now it's becoming quite obvious.
It's a case of drivers want track position. This is a circuit, especially with the two oval banking corners, which do have names, by the way. They're known as Sopra Elevta Nord and Sopra Elevta Sud, meaning North Bank turn and South Bank turn. Those are going to be very interesting to keep in mind. And when you're so full throttle around with all of this, you have to be absolutely on. So the lap will start here, heading onto the oval banking. And you are going to see drivers pushing higher and higher. There's a huge amount of banking on here, higher than pretty much most circuits. I think Daytona is the only one that is going to get anywhere remotely close to the level of banking that's needed. And it's so bumpy up there as they head onto the backstretch.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research about this banking. Up until 1938, it was actually cobblestones, and they had to sort of cancel it after drivers basically boycotted the track because it was so dangerous, especially in wet conditions. It was remade in 1955 to the banking that you see now, and it only raced until 1961 in this configuration in Formula 1. So the track that they're driving on right now with the Lotus 79 is actually predating the car. They used the road circuit for this, but we love the oval track because it adds that little bit of extra determination, especially in qualifying, that you need to have. Just for context also, the north banking is the first corner, south banking is the second corner that you can see there at the end of the start-finish straight, and side-by-side in qualifying, that's also a very chrome livery right there, but side-by-side in qualifying, maybe not the best scenario, especially into the Roggia chicane here. That is really, really tricky, as we see cars literally not tapping the brakes into that corner. So tricky into the Lesmo, the double Lesmo there.
Yeah, that was Alex Gillen who was going side by side with Brendan Hyperstar. Aidan Pohl was there in the middle of it with Ancephalosis with the best seat in the house. We had a quick look there over as well with Hayden Gullis in the 06. He's being chased by Super Noodle Bagel out there looking to put these first times on. In through Ascari is going to be one of the heavier braking zones, and the final corner on the lap is also going to be interesting, sometimes known as the Curva Alboreto. Everyone knows it as Parabolica. Ryan L83 sets the first time on the board, then over 2:16.8, immediately destroyed by Kamikaze on a 16.7.
Yeah, Kamikaze, one of our WRC champions, as we got a spinner in the background. That's so unfortunate out of Parabolica. You've just near enough finished the tricky part of the track with the banking, and you go for a little bit of a spin. Super unfortunate, as they will probably have to go round for another lap because their tyres are going to be cooked. But yeah, that is the difficulty, coming off of the basically paving stones or cement, going on to the tarmac, and the grip changes completely. As we can see here, just I think on the throttle, that was a lap before, if I remember correctly. So yeah, just messing up a little bit, just the acceleration. And yeah, it goes so quickly in these cars because the ground force effect of these cars is so tricky, unpredictable sometimes, especially with the bumps, that you can have 100% downforce and then no downforce in no time.
And you've got to remember, this car is the forefather of ground effect, the Lotus 79. It is one of the most important cars in the history of Formula racing when you consider that the modern Formula 1 car runs in that position. Punju finds himself up in third on a 2:17.8, so 1.1 seconds off at the moment in qualifying. Matt 2:12 in the 21 is currently in fourth position. On board with the 54 of B-Roy, out there looking to run the middle of the road at the moment, what we like to call running the apron.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a compromise between going up high and staying low. You've got one case where the track is slightly shorter, but you can't carry enough speed. So ideally, you want to have the steering neutral and just find that spot and stick with it all the way around banking. But especially in racing conditions, that's going to be super tricky to do when you want to get overtakes done, because realistically, that's the best overtaking spot of the track. You don't have to brake, you can slipstream a lot. So yeah, into the Curva Grande is just such an insane corner, and taken without the chicane, it is sort of flat out, but you've just got to commit to the car and have confidence going into, and it's flat through this chicane as well into first Lesmo, and you got to finally start braking as the first real braking point of the lap, and onto the gravel. Oh no, he's lost it all the way across the grass. Incredible recovery though, you got to admit, that was impressive stuff. Still sideways, showing off WRC skills more than Formula 1 skills right there.
But there's two issues with going off the road like that. The first one is that you drag all of the grass and gravel back onto the circuit, and so it's going to be even more slippery for the other drivers who go through that section. The second issue is we focus on Alex Gillen at the moment, looking to put a time. Brendan Hyperstar goes third, Alex Gillen up to 9th. With that effort in time. The second issue is the iRacing incident point system. If you go off the circuit with all 4 tyres, it is a 1x incident point and your qualifying lap time will be invalidated.
Super unfortunate that is, but you know, it enforces the same rules for everybody, so you have to keep it clean, which I like to see also. And yeah, we got side by side through the banking as well. They're trying everything out in qualifying. We had some situations in practice where they were going 3 or 4 wide up the banking as Hayden in that glorious livery is about to come across the line, I think, to set a lap time. What can it be? Is it an improvement? We'll have to wait a little bit. I don't think it was an improvement.
He's on the back half of the circuit.
He is on the back half of the circuit. I've forgotten where the start-finish line is. Obviously, that's another uniqueness of this track, is that you go past the start-finish straight, what is the modern start-finish straight, twice on this lap. So you've got to pay attention to which part you're on to make sure that you don't lift off as a driver too early.
Yes, so you are really switched on. The way to remember it is, if you see the pit entrance, that's the end of the lap. If you don't, you've got to continue on, and that's where the likes of Hayden Gullis right now and Super Noodle Bagel have to be out there at the moment. We've got a couple of tandems out there. Just in front of them is the 65 of Sparks, who's being followed by the 05 of Strasner at the moment. Strasner is 8th quickest at the moment in qualifying, and then Sparks is down in 13th on a 2:18.4, which is currently 2 seconds adrift at the moment here in the National Park of Monza, 5 miles out from the heart of Milan in Italy. We are in the industrial centre of Italy in the north, with the gateway to the Alps, which will be just around the horizon. But a big slide by Strasner then, and you can't go extending out the circuit either because of that makeshift wall on the left-hand side. That will bounce you back. Strasner goes up to 6th because Sparks goes 5th fastest. Punju up to 4th. Monkey Matt now in 3rd position.
Brendan, who was in P2, has been dropped down to P7 now, so drivers increasing their lap time very, very quickly, I think, as they get confident, and as they see that 5-minute timer pop up onto their session database there, they will want to keep pushing and keep pushing hard, because the lap time here, 2 minutes, so effectively you've got about 2 laps to go in the session, and as you said before, Jake, it just goes to blank as soon as that timer ends, so they've got to get that lap in beforehand. Just to emphasize how iconic this track is, it was actually the first purpose-built racetrack in Europe in 1912, if I remember correctly. Just trying to get my notes here. And the foundation stone, the first one, was actually laid by Vincenzo Lancia, so the founder of the Lancia group, and so really, really iconic stuff. And it's seen many, many variations over the years, of course, with the chicanes coming in into later effect, but they had to put chicanes into the course as of the 1940s, just because the cars were already going so fast. So this iconic layout has actually known a lot of different versions, and the version we're driving today is sort of the before safety came into effect here, with no chicanes, just flat out driving, and I think the drivers love it that way.
El Taco Man with you right now on screen, looking to make a push over towards the line. 12th fastest at the moment on a 17.8. B-Roy's just gone 3rd quickest. That lap time won't count from El Taco Man with an off-track somewhere, so we'll have to go again. And we are running out of time here in qualifying, down to just 3.5 minutes out there. And this is going to be something worth talking about, the wear that might come up on the left-hand and right-hand side tyres because of the banking, because they're going to be pushing through clockwise rather than anti-clockwise for a corner. We normally talk about right side tyres being worn. Here today, left-hand side tyres is going to be in play. In Fratic, number 99, he is Mr. Ferrari out there, of course, and he's looking to chase with a good friend of his in Punju just in front and running through the north side of the banking.
These guys normally race side by side and against each other in the Formula 1 series, but they're going with a different Formula 1 car today and going side by side on the old straights that we no longer use anymore, as I think this is B-Roy that we're about to see across the line. No, this is L across the line. P12 at the moment. Will it be an improvement? Look at that.
Nope.
Leaderboard. No, it is not, sadly. So unfortunately, but they still got another lap to do it, so it's no problem. They can keep pushing. Just want to point out as well the steering, the minutious, like little micro corrections, as I could call them, on the banking. You might think it's smooth, but actually so bumpy in the force feedback as you drive the course. So drivers have to pay attention, and it's not that even nearly losing it on the exit of the banking there on the little bump.
Yeah, Elsa's got to be careful here. So Elzandriani in 13th position now on a 17.6. B-Roy now up to third. Aidan Pohl is now in 5th position, and you're starting to get a sense of where everyone is. 2 cars have yet to set a time in qualifying. One's not got out in quads, and the other one who hasn't gone and set a time yet just so happens to be called Tiamat Marduk.
Yeah, quite an interesting one, leaving the sort of F1 qualifying session style right until the end. Maybe having a few issues getting to grips with the car. It is, you know, very, very tricky course to drive. It's onto the grass there for quite a few of the drivers. They're trying to keep it all the way to the left, but, you know, at the same time, you've got to try and minimize all of the wear to get on tires. Was that El Tacoman moving up into P14? I think it was. Ryan L83 yet to come across the line. I think we're seeing him round the last corner. Parabolica sliding. I do love the old school Formula 1 style where you get the rear drifting just ever so slightly with the lovely Goodyear logo on the back. That is so reminiscent of old time. Ryan stays P2 and Kamikaze across the line improves just by a tiny bit, but that is now 0.2 of a second in the clear.
Yep, 2:16.3 there, so finding the improvement on this 10-kilometer circuit down to the final 50 seconds. Sparks goes up to third, Strasner goes fourth. Then with that effort, so B-Roy gets knocked down late with the last times that go through. Riff Blondie's had an off at Ascari, but we're seeing more drivers pushing now towards the line. Aidan Pohl gets a 2:17.5, so can't improve on that lap, and that will lead down to the final half a minute where you got Monkey Matt, B-Roy, Riff Blondie, which you saw Racing Chai looking to try and find a lap time in. So this is Monkey Matt in the 07 looking to make the cross, and it's a 2:18 flat, so that's not going to be good enough out there to make the time work out. So this is really difficult to see who's going to stack on up. Racing Chai moves up to 8th position in the dying embers of qualifying, and the checkered flag comes out, which means drivers now who have started a lap here, John, have the chance to finish it.
Yeah, they certainly do, but I saw a car going airborne there. I'm not exactly sure who that was, but they were all the way off the track. That's not exactly what we want to see there, but they're going for Tony Hawk's style right there, I guess. As you've got Brendan still on a lap, it looks like, trying to get the slipstream from the car in front. That's car 17 in front of him. So I love the liveries, by the way, all old school liveries. Guat's around the final corner here as well. Looking to, just a little bit of understeer actually in there. That's rare to see. Then the oil kicking into the oversteer. And he may not be completing the lap. No, he carries on, he does, but maybe it's not a competitive lap. Let's see across the line. Will he improve?
No.
Not seeing any updates on the leaderboard. No, sadly not. El Tacoman up to P9, though. That's a good improvement. Can Tiamat Marduk get a lap time on the board?
Also no.
Also no. Interesting. So invalidated somewhere.
Yeah, Tiamat Marduk struggled. It's had 4 attempts to put a lap together. It hasn't worked. Ryan L83, 2:16.513. Did improve, but not enough to gain a position. Still stuck by just under 0.2 of a second. I think the last car to the line is going to be Racing Chai. We focus here with Brendan Hyperstar, hoping to make a good attempt at it. For the moment, it's Kamikaze, Ryan L83. Look at the push all the way to the outer extremities of Parabolica corner and over towards the line. It is a 2:17.050. It's good enough for the 4th row for Brendan right now, but there are more drivers like Super Noodle Bake Bagel, who's hoping that the time will improve. And the answer is 18 flat is where it will stay for the moment. So Monkey Matt still out there. B-Roy looking to push. And then Racing Chai making a pass on Rift Blondie. But Racing Chai has just gone around. So over to the line then. They will start hoping there is searches. But for the likes of those, it's a case of what could be a filet-o-fish is all that is left. B-Roy, by the way, third with that final lap attempt. Brilliant as far as qualifying goes, but your first qualifying effort is won by Kamikaze in the number 16 machine.
Well, he's great at rear-wheel drive rally cars, so he's probably used that to great effect, drifting the car through there. And let's see if we can get our qualifying results on the board. Kamikaze there taking pole position. Ryan L83 will line up alongside him with B-Roy completing the top three. Sparks with a really great lap as well. You can see so close on the grid there. A little bit of a gap there to Strasner and P5 with Monkey Matt right behind. Brendan the Hyperstar will start on row 4 with Aidan Pole alongside Razin and El Tacoman complete the top 10.
Yeah, and so we look over the page then too to the likes of those 11th on down, where you got Punji and Alex Gillen on row 6, Matt 2 on 2, and Els Indriani in 14th position. Joshimas is going to go from 15th with Rift Blondie in 16th, then Hayden Gullis and Super Noodle Bagel with Infratic in 19th place, and Ancephalosis rounding out your top 20 at nearly 3 seconds off the pace. The final two cars who didn't set a time would be Tiamat Marduk and Gwatz, who will have to go from the back of the field to sort themselves up. We've got about 5 minutes here, John, before we jump ourselves into racing action. And what better option for us than to talk to our pole sitter here, Kamikaze, who's here along with us. Now, Thomas, that is a day which you look at in qualifying. There are no expectations when you walk into this. What a lap.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't expect that because Ryan is so much faster. So yeah, we will see how the race goes on. Now this is a good quali lap, but I think it's a disadvantage in the race because I can't fuel save. So we will see how we manage that one.
So you're a veteran of the WRC series, and I want to ask you, how much knowledge can you take across from the rally cars, the rear-wheel drive stuff, onto these classic Formula 1 cars? Because we've noticed a lot of sliding, a lot of just minimal drifting. So how much does that apply?
Yeah, the tarmac bit you can apply, and the sliding, the counter steering is also good to have a knowledge on. But on this car, it's not easy, but it's almost, you know, when you're gonna catch it, and sorry for the language, but you also will know when you go into the barrier. So yeah, so if you lose it, you lose it.
And so as you sit now and look to prepare, it's 31 laps worth of racing. It's going to feel like an official Formula distance out there to go and put it together. How much level of concentration do you need when everyone's running around at speeds of over 290 kilometers an hour and full throttle for pretty much 80% of the lap?
In this car, the concentration level will be high. Side by side, its open wheeler is always dangerous, and especially in the banking. You sit in the center of the car and you don't actually do not feel the wide of it, or what you call the car's wideness. So it's easy to touch. So we will see. I think we will have a good show today, and make it. Let us make this to be a fun race.
Fun race, but nobody overtaking you, right, on the start. You want everybody to just follow the safety car at lap 1, right?
Yeah, of course. Safety car, we will have a rolling start and a clean start, I hope. We did a practice session on Tuesday, and the standing start was a bit mess, so I'm glad for the decision was made. So we will see, and maybe we can find someone in the field to cooperate with, and maybe we can clear the pack and just go away.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck there. Kamikaze joining us then with the pole position time here in your first ever Creator Series iRacing event. And John, we sit and now get ourselves ready here in warm-up. They've got a couple of minutes to do their final fine-tunes and fettlements to get themselves ready for racing action. It's not going to be an easy challenge. That is pretty much what everybody will know and understand. But the one thing that they'll all be looking at is if they have an issue on the banking, it is going to be a large accident. There is nothing that will save them over there.
I mean, anything around this track is just flat out all the way. I was going to mention that this car had a recurring issue in the actual real-life events where the brakes would fade, but thankfully there's only really 3 braking zones in this, 4 with the Scari, I guess. So the brakes shouldn't be an issue, but yeah, they've got to keep the car in good condition. You know, if you hit the wall even a little bit at these speeds, that's going to be major damage. And, you know, I was looking through my database and I found that the maximum sort of average speed was achieved back in the day at this track of 240 kilometers per hour average in the race, mind you, around this circuit, which is just absolutely mental for back in those days. I think it was 1971 by memory, so that is just ludicrous speeds. And even especially for these cars, we saw, I think, 280 miles per hour down the straights. So yeah, these things fly, let's say, and hopefully they remain all 4 wheels on the ground on lap 1.
Yeah, we definitely saw 180 miles an hour, 290 kilometers an hour by comparison along those straights, and that's worth being kept in mind. These drivers do have great opportunities, though. If it does go wrong, they've got 4 fast repairs available to them, and they do have drive-through penalties enabled. So if they pick up 25 incident points out there over the course of the race, they will get a drive-through penalty, and then they will get an additional drive-through penalty for every 10 incident points after that. So that's what's going to be in mind. The checkered flag will come up in warm-up, which will take us over, John, to the starting grid. And this is where the nerves set in on what is a fairly hot track today of 38 degrees Celsius.
I don't know who just went into the barriers there on the entry to the banking, but I saw body work panels, fly all over the place into turn 1. So here's the grid. Sorry, Jake.
Absolutely. So as it stacks, it will be practice times there that we've just seen there. So in practice, Ryan Littlemore's done well. But the grid will be that Kamikaze has the pole position along with Ryan L83 alongside on the front row. B-Roy will go from 3rd position with Sparks in position number 4. Strasner will start from 5th ahead of Monkey Matt, who will join on the 3rd row there, 0.6 of a second off the pace. And then you've got Brendan Hyperstar going from 7th along with Aidan Pohl, who is there in 8th position, a big fan favourite with us here today. Racing Chai will go from 9th as the top 10 is rounded out by El Taco Man. Punju will have a star-studded 6th row of the grid. Alex Gillen is alongside for company in the number 77, Lotus 79. Matt 212 will have Els Indriani for company, and she'll make good progress there in 14th, with Joshimas in 15th and Riff Blondie 16th. It then follows Hayden Gullis and Super Noodle Bagel, who were together in qualifying the entire time and found what they needed. Infratic then will go in the number 99 car for 19th position, along with Ancephalosis. You then got Tiamat Marduk and Gwat, who will be there with our 2 unsafety cars for today's racing, because we will have manual safety cars for this race going from 22nd and 23rd, but will not take the start. As they warm themselves up, they've got about 1/3 of a lap to bring themselves up to temperature with their tyres behind the Porsche iRacing first safety car. And once they work themselves around through the likes of Parabolica, they will have a really good chance to start their racing, knowing that they've got 31 laps here today to go pedal to the metal. We expect that this will take about an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere in that region, should this one go caution-free. But it will depend on how drivers manage cold tyres and keep themselves out of trouble. And once that pace car dives on into the pit lane, the pace will be in control of Kamikaze to get this race all underway and sorted, knowing that the challenge is there from Ryan L83, a former driver of the Radicals Online sim racing team that used to race in World Championships here on iRacing. Let's get your Creator Series started with iRacing as we get ourselves ready and set for this action. A long wait for the drop of the green flag, which goes now, and we are underway for racing action. It is narrow on this front stretch, heading towards the banking. B-Roy immediately makes a beeline for second position and moves on into play. Now everybody works the banking here on the north side for the first time and works out where is the best place to be.
I think Alex Good and Hayden Gullis getting a little bit boxed in there. I think everybody in the midfield trying to find a way past. And here comes Leroy for the lead already. Kamikaze thought that this might be a problem, and now everybody behind's getting a slipstream. Can Ryan come back into play? We'll have to wait and see. Strasner up to P3 now on the inside. You can see there going side by side. B-Roy and Kamikaze. Will anybody lift? If they lift, contact! B-Roy round, and everybody has gone a little bit topsy-turvy into here. And that is possibly one of the biggest crashes I have ever witnessed, as hopefully some cars, I see 4 cars on the exit of turn 2 there. That is quite incredible.
Safety cars being deployed for this, so everyone's going to have to slow it down after the opening lap. B-Roy with the big one immediately here in this race. If that is not the most Creator Series way to start a race, I don't know what is, John.
Yeah, that was just happened out of nowhere. Just B-Roy got a little bit of a twitch. I don't even think there was contact, and it just completely just snapped on him, and he was a passenger at that point. We've seen it so much in oval racing, but that banking is so bumpy, you have to leave a bit of a margin for error there. And I think everybody at the start of the season wanting to just attack and gain positions as you do as a racing driver, and it didn't really work out for, well, the majority of the field there. I think Ryan, Kamikaze, Sparks were very, very thankful that they were up in the midfield, and that's, up at the front, and that is not what you want to see, a car with 3 wheels. Yeah, that is super unfortunate. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of people with damage. You've got a car crabbing in the background. Is that Brendan crabbing in the background as well? So a lot of damage to a lot of the cars there. And as you can see, safety car leaving the pits there in the background.
I think that's Punju in trouble, missing one of the front wing end plates, missing an entire side pod on the left-hand side and the rear wing as well. To say I've got 3 wheels on my wagon and I am trying to limp it home is an understatement. Now, here's what happens. B-Roy on the top side, and as they start to push 3 wide there with the likes of Ryan Littlemore and Strasner, it's a case of you've got to be really choice about how you go. And everybody then, it's a funnel down to the bottom. There is nowhere to escape when you're in an incident like that, and that is why this is the toughest oval in iRacing.
Yeah, that's so tough on B-Roy and Kamikaze. Basically, Kamikaze went a little bit left and B-Roy went a little bit right, and then they made contact. They did make contact. And then after that, everybody's a passenger. As soon as someone crashes in front of you, you've got to hit the brakes and pray. And I think a lot of people prayed, and not many people got an answer right there.
A lot of drivers have decided they're going to take some service, so have a little bit of damage here and there. I'm looking at the black and orange mechanical flags here to say mandatory damage. Aiden Pole, Punju, Joshimus, B-Roy, El Taco Man, Strasner, Monkey Matt, all of them have those flags attached to them, either driving around or having to take the tow. So let's get a little bit of clarity of where everyone is, as we got a Legends coupe out there, the 1934 variant that you normally see on the miniature stock racing that is out there. It's Kamikaze who took the line first ahead of Sparks, Ryan L83 in third, Infratic was fourth over the line ahead of Hayden Gullis and Rift Blondie. Tiamat Marduk taking service as well, and it will be a lot of drivers trying to find positioning out there. So Kamikaze, Sparks, Hayden Gullis, your top 3. Ryan L83 now in fourth, Infratic fifth, and Els Indriani into 6th position out there. So a major start, but it might have just paid off to start from the back of the field here, because Tiamat Marduk, John, who started in 21st position, is now 9th.
Look, to finish first you have to finish, and that's what a lot of drivers need to remember in this race. It is quite ironic that I was mentioning how twitchy the steering was in qualifying there, and a lot of drivers I think got caught out. That's the problem of a ground effect car that we have nowadays in Formula 1 as well, in that you have to run it so stiff that the aerodynamics work, that if you get a bumpy track, say for example an oval that's quite bumpy here, then it can just throw you off instantly. And I think maybe a few drivers on the higher fuel loads were just getting caught out by how much the car was moving and how much they had to correct. And with very little margin, there's not much they could have done about it. But yeah, a lot of drivers trying to just stay out of it have actually managed to get to the front here. So yeah, you know, Hayden P3 for example, just getting ahead of Ryan in there, who might have picked up some damage just collecting B-Roy. So yeah, it's so lucky, for example, for Matt and Riff Blondie, they've gotten away with it quite well. But yeah, for people like Monkey Matt, for Brendan, it's been really tricky. And people like Alex Gillen, Punju, Strassener apparently are out of the race at the moment.
Yep, so that is them with a hefty amount of damage that is in play. And if they are in a position where they can't get it repaired, or it says, right, that's it, we're done, then they are going to have no real opportunities out there to go and focus. But I think they're just miles back in terms of the lap counts as they work through about 180 kilometers an hour behind the safety car, or the unsafety car at the moment, which is saying, okay, they're running quite quick speeds, but that's all the car has out there in terms of pace to go and keep them up to speed. So they're going to try and get the field all bunched back up together again and put themselves into position. But it does give a good opportunity to talk about where drivers are going to find troubles. Joshima's there in 12th position in the number 23 car. They are going to have to try and play ball on these restarts. When it's too wide, it's very difficult. Everyone else is going through, and stop the count. Hayden Gullis is the fastest lap of the race.
3:25. I don't think we'll be beating that today, that's for sure. That's an electric lap right there. You know, I think it's all to do with the fuel difference, right? The weight of the car is just too much for the drivers at the moment. So yeah, definitely that'll be the pace we're looking at. I'm hearing that safety car is in this lap, so we'll be able to get racing once again. Lovely to hear. And I think Kamikaze will be hoping once again to just clear off into the distance and stay out of any trouble. And once again, for all of the drivers, this is going to be their first experience outside of the banking to actually go racing. So we've yet to see where you can overtake. We've yet to see how much you have to brake, for example, into the middle sector. So yeah, a lot of question marks for the drivers here, and I'm sure we'll have answers for you in just a few seconds.
Well, here's something that's actually really interesting in terms of the way that this race has been going about and has been sorting itself at the moment. And the question is going to be this: who's been clever enough to rope someone in to be their spotter? There's only one driver in the entire field who's decided to do so. It's Riff Blondie. Layla Tatum is the spotter.
That is a considerable advantage, because you can have a look at what everything's going on and, you know, just keep a little bit more aware, which in these situations can be ever so crucial for anything through to consistency, just staying out of trouble, or indeed spotting an opportunity for a strategy somewhere in the mix. So yeah, very clever thinking. But that is the way Riff Blondie goes in terms of she has experience on iRacing, she knows what she's doing, and so this isn't her first event, and so she has all of those little things that add up to an advantage. But I'd consider people like Ryan and, well, Team at Mardik and Hayden know all of this. In fact, half of the field, I think, know all of that. So maybe they're just missing out a little bit, thinking, you know, everybody will play this casually, but apparently not so for Riff Blondie. Good on her.
There is Els Indriani in 6th position in an absolute happy state at the moment, just talking about, you can see the wheelwork even under the safety car conditions of what's having to be dealt with at this point in time. You can see the amount of force feedback that goes through in this car as it has to stay low to the ground in order to pick up the downforce to go through the corners. And this will be a car that will be trimmed out as much as possible for these fast sections. So I look at corners like Ascari, for example, to be the most difficult corner on this track, because you do have to hit the brakes up the hill and make sure you've got the aerodynamic grip underneath you to just make sure that the car stays planted. So the pace starts to slow down and a gap given by Kamikaze over to the safety car, which runs itself away, and the excessive weaving now starts to take hold with where everyone is, with Sparks, Hayden Gullis, Ryan L83 in Fratic, and then Els Indriani in 6th position. Matt 212 follows with Rift Blondie in 8th position, then Tiamat Marduk and Rasin Chai will be back racing here on lap 4 of 31, or an hour and 25 minutes. Whichever comes first is what we run to. Green flag is back in the air, and we are underway again here from Monza, and immediately Ryan Littlemore attacks against Hayden Gullis down to the inside, entering the banking and looking to take that place away.
I think, though, Hayden might have the overspeed on the outside. We'll have to wait and see on the exit. The bank, Hayden getting so close to the barrier on the outside there. A little bit of a gap forming to Infratic there. So Infratic hasn't got on the throttle hard enough on the exit of the start-finish straight there. 3 wide in the background. I think that's Brendan Hyperstar, Encephalosis, and Monkey Matt there in the background. As, yeah, that was incredibly brave, and hopefully we'll have no problems as Encephalosis takes the position.
Oh, we're going to get problems.
Oh, I think I saw problems in the background there. That's not great, but the top 4 have made it out of the banking alive at least.
They have, and I think they've all survived. I don't know how Super Noodle Bakel off camera was able to survive after the contact with Encephalosis, but now here come the pushes then for the front. 2 wide they go, as now Kamikaze under pressure into the Piassano corner here. This long right-hander known as Curva Grande Sparks on the outside. Here comes Ryan L83 looking to make the progress and jumps down through the middle and now moves up to second. So Kamikaze holds through the, I would say, straight line of De La Rogia that they will have to go through. And critically, it's 4 clear on a very draft-dependent circuit.
One of the funny things about that chicane is you've still got the curb on the inside, so you've got to avoid the curb of the modern chicane to make the corner. And I think Ryan and Kamikaze benefited from knowing that, because they did a little bit of practice in a session where they were side by side on through various turns, and so they have that knowledge of knowing, hey, we've got enough gap here to actually push the limits a little bit and do some racing. So I think a lot of drivers just bedding themselves into the track a little bit. As you can see, Infratic has a little bit of a trolley train behind him at the moment. I'm sure Infratic will be pushing a lot. Brendan going wide, I think, in the backgrounds there in the yellow liveried car there. Car number 10, as you can see, as we've got an overtake here. I think, is that B-Roy going side by side? That's Razin, sorry, my apologies. Razin try going through on Rift Blondie. So yeah, a little bit of an overtake going on there, and Gwatz in the background as well, looking to prioritize on, or capitalize on that, I should say, as Kamikaze sets a time. Oh no, Hayden's time's been beaten.
It was such a close time between them out there, so there wasn't really much that you could do or say about it. But now you've got the likes here of Gwatz and Rift Blondie and Rasin Chai together, and at the front of the field where we go, suddenly Hayden Gullis has been completely dropped by the group. So it is Kamikaze, Ryan L83 and Sparks together on track at the moment, running through into the south side banking and looking to try and run away. It's on as well for 5th, 6th and 7th with the likes of Infratic, Matt 212 and Els Indriani, who are all in play at the moment. But as it stands, you've got no breaking point from where you hit Parabolica all the way to when you go to Lesmo number 1. That is a nightmare, and these drivers who are sat in the slipstream might have to be careful of the engine temperatures of their Ford DFV Cosworth engine, the most famous engine in motorsport.
Yeah, indeed, and I love that Ford livery on Kamikaze's car there, really representative. The RS200 livery from Rallying, if anybody wants to know. Lovely, lovely car, and lovely engine in the back of this. The Ford DFV, possibly the engine with the most victories ever in Formula 1. It was used from the 60s all the way up to the 80s. Yeah, Gwatz, he was all the way up to P7, and he's all the way down now, and he's, oh wow, that's a huge amount of damage, and I think out of the race, missing 2 wheels, or at least 2 bent wheels there on the inside. I think he's had a collision with somebody. He was racing with Rift Blondie, and I've seen Rift Blondie has dipped down to P16 as well, so possibly some contact there.
So there was contact as they were going through the Della Roggia, and then he is absolutely smashed into the barriers, then going through that section. It's so easy to do, but Gwatz has taken the toe and now has toe time and has to try and work again to move back into position in this race. So he might need a couple laps to go and get back into focus and progress, but at least right now at the moment they are happy in their positioning as it goes. Kamikaze with the fastest lap as it gets busy a little bit further back for the moment. Look at how the train stacks up behind Tiamat Marda. Joshimus is trying to eye up. Brendan Hyperstar, Punju, Monkey Matt side by side with the recovering B-Roy on the inside. And behind that as well, Alex Gillen making moves on Ancephalosis for position. Here comes the look on the outside then for a brief moment against Tiamat Marduk, who now is on the wrong side of the pace as Joshimus takes the extreme low side and tries to move across and just gets the clearance.
Oh, that talk about closing the door. That was an aggressive. You are not getting past no matter what you do. Yeah, so many drivers actually that we thought were out of the race, like Alex Gillen and Cephalosis, are in the race. They just took so long in the pit lane to repair the damage that the race control thought they were out of the race. As side by side, we're seeing now this is very aggressive. Tiamat Marduk up to P9 once again. So they've got to really try and settle into a pace here and work together, even using the slipstream to sort of bypass. Oh no, collision! There's multiple cars involved in this.
Oh,
Four drivers out. That's, oh no, is Tiamat Marduk? That's Brendan, Alex Gillen not involved in that, but huge amount of drivers collected. So difficult. And safety car deployed. I'm trying to get a list of the cars. Do you have a list there, Jake?
Yeah, Joshimus was caught up in it. Tiamat Marduk caught out. Brendan Hyperstar was in the mix as well. One car went flipping through the middle of all of that, which I believe was Punju again, finding a car absolutely broken and beaten. He's had no luck today. If it wasn't for bad luck, Punju would have had no luck at all today.
Yeah, that is so tricky because I know Punju loves this type of driving and racing, and so it just happens you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. With so many cars going flat out at such high speeds, it's inevitable that something's going to happen. And I think that's why in the actual races the drivers had to drive at like 99%. And are we seeing a thing of basically the race distance is shorter than what these cars would have driven, so you have to go for it basically. You can't afford to stay back with the slipstream mechanics and everything. You have to try and attack the car in front. See if we can get a replay of what happened. I think it will be just in a minute that we might be able to see it. But yeah, very unfortunate. And indeed, another case where you reset and hopefully go again for some of our drivers. And for the drivers out in front, it's another case of thank God we're in the lead pack.
Absolutely. I looked at Infratic, who was on the radio doing his best Jensen Button impression at the United States Grand Prix, going, can you let me know if you got a front wing? Because I don't know. I can't see from my position if I've got front wings. So that is pretty much a great indicator of just how difficult everything was together, as I believe we're not going to be able to grab the replay that we want with how it's all gone about. Either that or it's going to come up in the next couple of moments. I think it's just coming out of this corner where you start seeing the move there. So there's the push over to the inside, trying to get that clearance. And I think it's just going to be a tangle of wheels as they go into that next section. So you can see they're side by side, pushing for the same piece of real estate. And as they go, it's just a tangle of wheels. And then everybody just again, because it's flat out through a lot of this section, the accidents are going to be big.
Oh, yes, so unfortunate. Just a case of millimeters there, and the front wheel collides with the rear wheel, and then, you're just sideways. The aerodynamics don't work. You basically have no steering, and you are a passenger, a bit like in the banking. And I think it's also the case of maybe it's just a bump in the track that sends the car slightly sideways or slightly a little bit squirrely on the exit, as they say, and yeah, you just collide and that's it, because you're trying to play for track position around Curva Grande, where you need to try and get to the left to take it flat out or go around the outside, and everybody's going for the same bit of tarmac. And I loved seeing the safety car absolutely flat out here, trying to stay away from the Formula cars. Lotus. And yeah, I love seeing this car drive because you can see how much they're pushing just because it's squirrely on the exit. They are getting the utmost traction out of it, and respect to the safety car driver, as they say.
Yeah, you got to have it, and it takes a lot of skill to go out there. We're paying them with a diet of cheese and onion crisp sandwiches out there, and whatever else we can muster up together to make sure that they're happy with doing what they're doing. So they're doing a great job out there at the moment behind the safety cars at this stage as they now look to push. But it does now put us heading towards lap number 8 of this race out of 31. So currently, in terms of our time, we've run about 20 minutes worth of this race, and we're pretty much almost a quarter of the way through already, which means at current pace, we'll be looking at around 80 minutes for this race. So that'll be well within the time cut, and we will be on lap count heading to the end of this one. I think because of how quick we've been seeing the safety cars go around on circuit here, John, we are not at that much risk of this one going to a time-certain race. I think we're going to be very much in a lap-certain condition, because right now we've got a few changes out there towards the front. Sparks now your new leader. Matt 212 in second. B-Roy, after making that pit stop early, is now leapfrog back up to third, because almost everybody else has made progress into the pits. Alex Gillen now up to fifth with Monkey Matt in fourth, and Ancephalosis now in sixth.
Yeah, so ironically, everybody that was involved in an incident in the first safety car is actually now leading the pack, unless they've been involved in another incident. Just because of the fuel strategy. Everybody like Kamikaze and Ryan there at P12 and 13 at the moment, for example. So they've had to come into the pits to either, I don't think repair damage, but just to take on fuel. I'm not even sure. Maybe they'll be changing tires as well. You know, it's always a gamble, isn't it? Because on such a track like this, most of the corners are flat out. So the only real time you're losing is in Sector 2 into the Regia chicane there. Well, let's call it a chicane, but flat out basically. Rogia flat out bits, and then into the Lesmo 1 and 2. And then the Ascari chicane. So is it worth taking tires? Is it, you know, it's a bit questionable. You might be losing 1 or 2 seconds, but in the greater scheme of things, it might not make that much difference. So a lot of things in terms of strategy here to pay attention. And of course, it's during this era as well that teams started figuring out that actually changing tires during the race might actually be a good idea. So you're sort of in that sort of like reproduction period, let's say, of, oh, do we pit for tires? Is that a good idea? Question marks. A lot of questions, not a lot of answers at the moment.
From what I've seen of the official series out there, of course, and I've done quite a lot of it with the classic scene that's been out there on iRacing, it's a case of these tyres will last an hour as they go on through, so that will keep them in mind. We are going to be going an extra lap on this safety car just because of how far back Joshima's is from the rest of the group, so that will mean that they'll go an extra lap around, and so that is going to mean that they will be looking to restart racing on lap 10 here of 31 at the 1/3 stage of this race. So as far as it goes, this is going to be a very tough race of winners and losers out there over the course of the racing that you've got. You can be very happy, John, with where you are placed at the beginning of the race, but because there is a lot of umming and ahhing about where you want to be for track position, we're seeing that these pit stops are being taken at the stops for however much running they've got, if they've been caught up with anything, and it is really jumbling up the field. As it stands, we've got cars who started in the top 10 right now. We've still got 6 of them in the top 10, but as far as it goes, we've got people like Ancephalosis, for example, who started 20th now, up to 6th. Matt 212 was 13th on the grid, now 2nd. It's a case of where you qualify. We always talk about this. It doesn't mean you're going to win the race. It means you've got the best chance.
Yeah, I'm also noticing that Sparks is the only one that hasn't pitted according to our timing, so that's an interesting one. Will he pull into the pits, seeing as there's another safety car lap? I think for most drivers, actually, now the strategy is just stay alive, and then in the last 5 laps, fight for position, because as we've seen, as long as you're in the fight, in the top pack, you can get the slipstream. And we saw, I think, already the strategy developing of holding back by the banking, staying in the slipstream, maybe lifting off a bit, lifting and coasting, and then once you're out onto the road course, then trying to make the overtake stick, because it's just too dangerous to try and overtake on the banking. As I think we heard then that safety car is in this lap, just for confirmation.
It will be. Now, I just want to get this query in with you, John. How much aura farming are you doing if you have a car with your own face on it?
Well, it depends. If it still has 4 wheels on it, a lot of aura farming. If it's in the barrier facing the wrong way, it just adds to the humiliation. But definitely also some drivers featuring on the safety car as well. So, you know, if the safety car is out, technically you're leading the race, which is, you know, an interesting strategy from some of our drivers, but maybe it'll pay off for them.
Maybe it will. We will see. But at least for the moment, Sparks in an interesting position as the only driver who hasn't come in and made a pit stop yet in this race at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It is the full layout that we've got, and they can see on your timing tower the 2 rivals, Alex Gillen and Tiamat Marduk. Alex Gillen's winning.
That's all that matters, doesn't it? But hopefully they don't come to blows, because I know once they start racing each other, they always want to be ahead of each other. So we might see some last braking competitions, or indeed too wide on the banking there. I wanted to ask a question to you as well, seeing as you know the world of iRacing back to front at this point. We're well aware of the damage that the cars can get. It's a very developed damage model in iRacing. But there was a thing that I had not been thinking about until now, is that going around that banking, they might be getting some sort of floor damage to some extent. So is that very prominent in these Formula cars, or is that something that they normally don't have to worry about?
I don't think they've got to worry about going too close to the floor. The only thing is, if they put the ride height too low in the front, they might risk turning up the front corner of their front wing, for example. That's the only thing that I would maybe have a concern about for these drivers. But at least for the moment, I doubt we're going to be seeing any problems otherwise out there. And this is going to be a race now of positioning and making sure you've got the opportunity to charge on forward. The classic Tolman livery on Matt 212, channeling his inner Ayrton Senna. Unfortunately, just looking at the weather, it's going to be bone dry for the entire race. I know this is a car out there where you're looking around as part of the iRacing weather system that is being phased in, is the right way to say, over the course of iRacing, that more and more cars will pick up the ability to run in the rain. But for Matt 212, smiling with his silver award there on the right-hand side next to him on the wall to indicate he has 100,000 YouTube followers out there, does Matt 212. He will be very happy with the subscriber count, but now he has got to say, well, clout is one thing. Now I've got to put that clout on the right pedal and say I can drive forward for it. Pace going back immediately on for Sparks as the safety car comes back in. Lap 10 at a third's distance about to be found.
Got completely caught out in the open there, just Sparks accelerating, and Matt was quick to react, slow to react to it. So that means that B-Roy is putting him under all sorts of pressure, and we've already got too wide with, I think that's Alex Gillen and Monkey Matt, so hopefully they don't come to blows. Strathner and Cephalosis also going at it, so that will be interesting to see. I think everybody's surviving for the moment, but the pack has been split up into multiple groups already, I think, with some people being more encouraged to react quickly and others being a little bit cautious, as we've got a side-by-side here between Matt and B-Roy. B-Roy going to the inside, taking provisionally P2 by a couple of centimetres, as he's just pushing Matt to the outside. They will survive the banking, it looks like. But look at that, Alex Gillen wants to get the slipstream, wants to get in on the action, and we're about to have maybe a 4 wide as everybody goes to the inside. This is looking dangerous.
Well, here's into the wall there goes Matt 212. He wasn't quite aware of his surroundings, and he's tagged the wall on the right side, so he's got to be careful about that. And they're almost going 3 wide as they go through. Alex Gillen on the outside. B-Roy now in second place, and it's still Sparks who holds the front of the pack. But everybody is going to be looking around at everybody else trying to hold themselves into place. They all fall into rank and file then, into the first of 2 Lesmo corners. There's a big off backwards. Kamikaze, who's your pole sitter, is in trouble. And El Taco Man, I think, has been caught up in it as well.
Yeah, That's unfortunate. I think just a little bit of a tap into the red. Oh no, that's a wheel missing and a rear wing missing. That is not good, and I think that's going to be a major repair. No safety car deployed at the moment, so we keep racing for the moment as we have quite a few cars, I think, just trying to stay alive here as B-Roy looks to chase down Sparks, who's had a brilliant opening lap after this safety car period, just trying to pull away in the distance. But Infratic all the way over the gravel there. Nearly carries a few people with him as they copy his line. But yeah, Infratic getting very close to disaster there. Tiamat Marduk struggling in front of him as Infratic looks to maybe make a move into Parabolica here. But yeah, we have two different paces of driver today. I think those that are confident and those that are just trying to keep alive, as Punju gets past Rift Blondie there for P9 as well on the leaderboard. So a lot of overtakes happening as people are starting to figure out how to get around this circuit.
And remember, while this is a battle for a championship in terms of pace, the one thing about the Creator Series is it's content first. So it's all about drivers being happy as Aiden Paul and Strasner now go at it together here, 6th and 7th. They've got to work together to get to Monkey Matt. Matt 212 having a battle of Matts side by side. How about that? A race to see who is best Matt.
Well, I'll let them dispute them amongst themselves. I think they're both great, to be fair. Oh, no, I can't give them too much credit, otherwise they'll berate me after the broadcast. But yeah, you can see the talent of the drivers now on display as they try and figure out where the other drivers are slow or maybe a little bit faster so they can defend, as we've got quite a few aggressive moves here as Tiamat Marduk going all the way up to the wall, Infratic following as well. There's like two lanes of cars developing, a bit like in IndyCar basically, where the drivers are trying to just get the slipstream, and we've got a side-by-side here as that Aiden Pole and Strasner are going side-by-side once again. They're going to go side. No, they aren't. So crucially, I think that was actually Monkey Matt defending. Is that the Tolman car? Yes. No, Matt, that's Matt 1212. Sorry, defending against Alex Gillen. My apologies. Looking in the
It's
wrong
so difficult to
place
tell
on the
between the
board.
Matts, isn't it, John?
Yeah, I've misplaced my timing sheet at the moment, so I was kind of trying to guess. I will admit, and guessed 50% correct. So I'll take it. I guess that's pretty good guessing.
I think my favourite Matt is Bath Matt. I don't know about you, but Bath Matt is my favourite type of Matt out there at the moment. Alex Gillen in a Matt, well, it's an Alex Gillen sandwich with Matt bread at the moment, which is there and sorted. Look at the gaggle behind Ancephalosis. Oh, there's trouble actually back there with the likes of Rift Blondie. I think it's come together with Tiamat Marduk going through Ascari. Oh, and they're almost going to have afters on the exit there, are they?
Yeah, they're all going slow, so obviously something's happened on the into Ascari, which meant that they had to slow down, but they're all trying to get back up to speed, as we've got a lot of grass flying up as well into Parabolica. You can see the tyre track there, to be fair. Somebody's got the line a little bit wrong, as we've got an overtake. Sparks has had a problem here. I think he's been around into Parabolica, so yeah, dropping down the leaderboard at the moment, and we've got another car peeling off into the pit. I think, is that Hayden peeling off into the pits?
I think Sparks is fine.
Yeah,
I
something
think...
going on with the timing, perhaps, there. So, yeah, interesting, because I saw Sparks dropping down the leaderboard, but there he is, in first place. Interesting stuff. But B-Roy getting dropped a little bit, actually, by Sparks. Maybe the timing guys are trying to make it a little bit spicy at the top, trying to put pressure on Sparks at the moment.
Well, it's sugar and spice and everything nice at the moment for Sparks as it stands, as we take a look there through the smoke. So it's into the first part there as Rift Blondie tries to stay out of the way. And the issue is he got an anti-cut curb on the inside when you go into the Ascari chicane. Tiamat Marduk caught it, ended up bouncing over the curb and straight over the tyre.
Yeah, so unfortunate. I mean, it's not really... these cars are so wide, you can't really go too wide. But I got to give him credit for putting it straight back on throttle and getting out again. That is impressive aggressiveness and very retro style. I do like it. But yeah, very unfortunate. And as we have said before, it's so stiff is the setup of these cars. They're all on default setup, by the way, all on a Monza setup. So they don't really have an advantage. It's Rift Blondie. Oh no, contact between the two. Rift Blondie, maybe Tiamat Marduk braking a little bit, and that has sent him into a spin and all the way into the barriers, missing a wheel right now. That was a nasty accident right there at basically top speed. and that car is not going to restart anytime soon as he goes back to the pits. Unfortunate, I think, Risk Blondie just on the overspeed with the lower drag that you have behind another car and just miscalculating a little bit, I think.
I don't know why Tim Marduk was slowing at that section. It's flat out through there, and it dropped about 50 kilometers an hour going through there. So Riff Blondie was completely unsighted for it, and Tiamat Marduk is down in the pit. So that is dramatic to say the least. Alex Gillen will see that on his black box relative and will have a huge smile saying, I've got him beat now. And we'll look and say, well, through on Monkey Matt, now eyeing up Matt 212 for another chance. Lead gap now out to 1.7 seconds. Sparks has gone off like a whippet here. B-Roy cannot match the tempo.
I'm back in the pit. So of the 3 drivers that we had leading the pack in the opening laps of the race, only B-Roy is in the front pack now, as I'm presuming a problem for Ryan, as Riff Blondie has more problems, I think, with damage now on that car, so dropped all the way down to P15. Not necessarily the best, as we now maybe have a move here, Alex Gillen, Monkey Matt, but in the background we have Aidan Paul going for a move on Strasner, going to the inside. Hopefully they stay within... Yeah, they've done... Okay, so Aidan Paul does get ahead of Strasner, but that was really risking it once again. Anybody going for a move here is pretty much desperate to get ahead. But I think what they're trying to do is use that slipstream to get to the pack in front. You can see everybody's broken up into 2 or 3 car packs, as Alex Gillen defending once again, saying, you are not passing here. Knowing Alex... He wants to go for P1 and nothing else. So regardless of... Oh, onto the grass! Oh my days, that is incredibly aggressive. But he's undeterred once again. And Matt 212 is having none of it either.
They've got to be careful about how much contact that they make, because if they start making contact, they will pick up instant points, and that would be 4 instant points for contact if they're not too careful. That will soon put them at 25 instant points if they're not respecting the limits of each other and the track, and that's when drive-through penalties can start brought into play.
Yeah, for sure. They have to pay attention. But, you know, in the heat of the moment, you don't look at how many penalty points you got left. You just look at that opening gap next to the other driver that you want to overtake. And look at how much speed Alex is carrying into the corners. He's making his intent very clear and true. Is he going to try into Parabolica? Please, no. Don't do it. You can't really overtake into here with these cars. You've got to maybe try and wait for the driver in front to make a mistake. And I will say that's one thing that... Oh, the slide! Whoa! Impressive. I do love the tandem drifting that we have going on here. Impressive stuff. It just puts a smile on my face, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it very much does. This is a car that, if you can learn to master it, you are going to be really good in the open wheel scene. We've seen some fantastic drivers make themselves go up to pro, like Andreas Henkel, for example, and Tamas Simon, who have gone through this sort of style of car to say, this is where I'm picking up the pace and the speed out there. But good run from Alex Gillen off of the north side of the banking, and a bit further back as well. Racing Chai working about here with the likes of Punju, and behind that, Infratic and Ancephalosis in a little bit of a duel. It's not a duel of the fates, it's a duel on the straights.
I will say Ancephalosis, after his troubles in qualifying, he's picked up the pace during the race here quite a lot, and now to be putting pressure on Infratic, who's quite a seasoned driver when it comes to Formula cars. This is very, very impressive from him. So hopefully, Joshima's getting overtaken by Super Noodle Bagel there, I think. In the background, no, they're going at it once again, so just swapping positions, I think, as Alex Gillen all the way over the rear of Matt 212 here, as Matt goes defensive again, just saying you can't get past here, don't try it. But how long can Matt hold on? You know, with that much pressure, with the incentive to make 0 mistakes, because you literally cannot. As Alex goes wide, and that means that Monkey Matt might go up the inside. Oh, thought about it. You could see the gears turning in the head right there. Do I go for it? And ultimately decides to back out of it. There are still quite a few laps left in this race, and you want to be still in contention, as we said.
Yeah, it's a closed corner when you go to Lesmo number 2. You've got to be alongside to command the corner. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of hurt through that section. So that's where you've got to step out, slightly out of line, goes Matt 212, and that understeer opens up the opportunity here for Parabolica to be a place to pass. Here comes Alex Gillen. Wide goes Racing Chai in the background, but Gillen easily gets the pass, and look at this. It's going to be Monkey Matt trying to find a way through to gain the place, and he's got a Cookie Monster livery, and he was thinking, oh, Cookie, I'll have that one.
Nibbling the inside there a little bit. Oh, the puns get worse as we go along. But Matt212 trying to attack Alex Gillen once again now. So now you see the reverse effect, because no way is he going to go to the inside on the banking. He is. But can he get alongside? Yes, he can. Alex, for some reason, not having the straight line speed here. What's going on? Alex has dropped 2 positions here as Monkey Matt is up the inside as well. Has Alex decided that maybe, perhaps, for some reason, it's better to stay behind here? I can't quite believe it. He did all of that work to overtake, and now he's got overtaken.
Fuel save.
On the banking. Maybe fuel saving. It is possible.
If he keeps in the tow behind, he will save a lot more fuel than being out there in front. He can go quicker and start lifting off the power as he goes into certain sections of this track. So I think that's what Alex Gillen's thinking about right now. Play the long game. If I can save fuel and get myself to the end, or let's thread the needle and go 3 wide on the front stretch, well, technically the back stretch here on this layout of Monza, and now make the charge. Nobody's wanting to give this up, so we're going to go 3 wide, and Alex Gillen effectively tries to end or brake maneuver his way through the scenario. He'll get the middle. Ultimately, Monkey Matt ends up on the wrong side of it. Matt 212 happy to remain in that 3rd position as it stands. Everybody's looking at a little group somewhere to make it happen. Riff Blondie and Guatsa together. So too, Ryan L83 trying to recover with Brendan Hyperstar.
You've got to appreciate the irony as Guatsa gets past Riff Blondie there in the background. I think Riff Blondie made a little bit of a mistake in the braking or in the line there. Riff Blondie's off the track once again, so maybe dirt on the tyres, maybe grass on the tyres. She'll be losing positions. Maybe Super Noodle Bagel will be trying to capitalise on that one. As, I think the irony of that is all of that battling just to return to the positions that they were in 3rd, 4th and 5th place for both Matt and Alex. So, all of that battling just to burn a lot of fuel and not really get anywhere, as B-Roy continues to be gapped a little bit by Sparks at the front. So Sparks doing a great job and still hasn't pitted, although are they into the pits now? Because we're seeing B-Roy in the lead, so wait for confirmation on that one. I've already called it once, but I don't want to call it again. Nope, there you go.
Okay.
He returns to 1st place. I was correct.
He's okay for the moment, so keep your eyes out. He will most likely have to make a stop at some point. Everybody has, and everyone's going to be keeping their eyes peeled on it for the moment. But there's the margin of lead, almost 4 seconds now at the front of the field over B-Roy, who is finding out that it's very tough to try and hold in comparison to the pace. He's losing 9/10 of a second on that last lap. Sparks has completely checked out right now, as if he's saying, right, let's go to another stratosphere. Nobody at this phase of the race is able to catch him.
One of the things that the the first group there has got to contend with, as you can see in the background, you've got Strasner and Aiden Paul in the background that are effectively using that slipstream to get back into the fight. So the more these guys fight at the front here, the more they're getting dragged back towards the midfield, and they can't keep doing this, surely. Oh no, Alex, don't do it. Don't go for it. No, 3 wide. No, I can't take this. Oh, they are really pushing the limits there. It's quite a narrow entry into that corner. You don't really want to. And I think all of them have got caught out. Yeah, they've all spooked each other, really. And Matt 212 and Alex going really wide and getting dirt on their tyres. And that allows Monkey Matt to say, hello there. I'd like to take that place off of you. Thank you ever so much. You're making it easy for me right now. But in that, again, they've lost half a second now to Strasner, who's just saying, hey, can you keep doing that until the end of the race? This is making it very easy for us to catch back up. Thank you.
Well, this is the key. The more that you start battling, the more you're going to be in a world of hurt. And Alex Gillen did a 2:18.7 on the last lap. Strasner with Aiden Pole. Aiden Pole did a 2:18.7, but Strasner did a 2:17.4. So it's a case of these groups trying to work out how hard can we battle. The gap now 3.5 seconds between them here, and so the more that they continue to scrap, the more they're going to take lines that they don't want to, and the more it's going to be a little bit dramatic. At the back of the field, on the tail end, is Hayden Gullis. He is 2 minutes off of the race lead right now and trying to do anything he can to stay amused.
Yeah, that's super unfortunate for Hayden. I think just caught up in a few incidents and had to pit for repairs with no safety car to get you back on track. That is, I think, Tio McMurdoch in front of him. So yeah, both of them having to have hefty repairs there. And Riff Blondie's still out there, so maybe some damage on that car, but she's still battling to keep on the on the lead lap and keep in the action. Looks like she's just got a slipstream from Guatz at the moment. So everything going okay as we've got, again, the trio going at it on the banking, and really Alex really trying to get the overspeed now. So you can see they're actually trying different strategies every lap to try and get the one-upsmanship on everybody, and it looks like Alex has got the right strategy for the moment, as it looks like he's going to go for lead, although Monkey Mac has said, no, I'm taking it this time, and we are going to see at some point some sort of collision, surely, as they go 3 wide. Oh, there you go. Oh no, the commentator's curse right there for Alex. I do apologise to Alex, but that could have gone so much worse.
It could have done. It took a lot of reaction speed from Alex Gillen to hold himself together, and he just about was able to stave off the charge of those who were going to say it's retirementville for him. No, he survives, but critically, by surviving, he now finds himself in no man's land here, looking at Aiden Pole and Strasner behind, and then, a huge wiggle on the AstroTurf for Punju against Racing Chai. They are working so hard to get to Strasner and Aiden Pole. This is a case of groups of two trying to work together. It's like watching the climb to Hautacam at the moment in the Tour de France.
That's a good reference, actually. I didn't think of that one. Yeah, teams working together to pull each other along. Although I'm sure there's going to be no team orders here, as you know they all want to battle with each other. And yeah, this is Razin going for an overtake on Punju. These guys race each other regularly. And yeah, I think Punju just recognized, Razin all the way sideways. This is a drifting competition, apparently, as, yeah, Punju's saying, okay, right, well, back to fighting we go then. As I think Punju had given that one up, and then Razin just got too aggressive on the throttle, just, I think, trying to get a little bit of a gap into the banking. It just hasn't worked whatsoever there, and now they're going to go side by side. And you can see on the entry, actually, when we had that sort of view from the pit lane there, that they just get a little bit squirrely into the banking, and that can unsettle you the whole way around as you try to counter steer into the corner and just maintain control of the car. It's kind of the case where you have to just pick a line and stick to it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't deviate when you're on the banking, especially with the bumps that you've got around this circuit. So you have to be switched on to where you need to be and where you're placing yourself out there. Punju did a great job around the outside of Racing Chai, using the oval banking to go and gain that play. And to make that progress really is quite wonderful to see. But then you got to try and get back onto terra firma, so to speak, and then make that move over to the opening corners and then through here into the Biasino at turn 3. Punju realizes, I'm on the wrong side of it. Racing Chai is straight down the inside. No reason to fight back on this. It's a case of just trying to work things out. This is what's called playing a game of chess at what is nearly 290 kilometers an hour at various sections of this track. It is very tough to go and do, and we've also got this battle going on as Guat holds off Encephalosis.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing to think about this is that toward the end of the ground effect era with these cars, you had turbo engines coming into effect as well, so they were going even faster than what we're going today. And when you see the crazy speeds that they're doing already on this track, you think to yourself, wow, that's a huge risk to take on such a high-speed banking turns. Just a little bit of context as well for viewers. This track in real life was used, or at least the banking bit was used for land speed records up until the 60s.
Oh, now
so
Sparks pits.
Yeah, now sparked into the pit lane now. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. That's going to be a hefty time loss. I think he was trying to stay out for another safety car, but ironically, the racing has been quite clean now, and we haven't had the need to deploy a safety car, as that is going to feel like a huge time to stay, as he has to take on fuel as well. So, you know, these cars need refueling. They've got quite small fuel tanks. So maybe he'll be trying to short fuel himself as well, just in case there is another safety car.
Well, you call it short fuel, I call it old school fueling times. They don't have those quick rigs where you can pump the fuel in 3 seconds and run away again. It takes over half a minute, 30.8 seconds in the box, and Sparks is going to come out behind Brendan Hyperstar, and that is a huge drop. So B-Roy now has control of the field, and now the question's going to be asked of everyone. If that's a case of I can only go 18 laps on my fuel, the question is going to be, for those who did not pit on the second safety car, they are desperately going to need another one to give themselves the fuel to get to the end.
Even those that pitted on the second safety car, we were lap 6 or 7, so that means that they're going to be very marginal on fuel. Is that why we saw Alex Gillen sort of saving fuel a couple of laps ago? Although, that being said, Matt has got away from Monkey Matt, who's got away also from Alex Gillen, so they're not really giving each other slipstream anymore. So this will be incredibly interesting. I think they're going to be a couple laps short then in terms of fuel, and that means that everybody will either have to start lifting, as we've said, or they'll just have to try and push the limit as much as possible, as Punju is all over the back of Razin once again. And there's only so many times that you see Fido fish before you want to go for that overtake, surely.
There is Punju at the moment trying to figure out what he needs to do. And look at that. H pattern shifter is being used by him. It's not the quickest way of doing it, but it is the most natural and effective way of going and making the shifts happen. And that's what we love to see. Old school car, old school shifts.
It's all fun and games until you downshift from 5th into 2nd. And then all of a sudden the engine is making weird noises, bizarrely. And yeah, I've seen Bunju do that once or twice. Hopefully it doesn't happen to him in this race. But he is very adept at that H-pattern gearbox. He loves using it, and every single time, you know, you can see the smile on his face. He's always smiles, no matter the context. And I think he'll be loving this racing right now as he gets prepared to do another lap of the banking while having 2 cars in his view. No way is he going to go around the outside. Don't do it. Don't try it. You are very brave, Bunju. Look at the steering corrections as he's just going to get away with it around the outside, and that means he gets the overspeed here and the side drafting as well to Razin. Look at the speed increase as he gets side by side. They'll be helping each other now down the straight and closing in as well. It looks on Strasner as well. So Strasner being the big sort of wedge in the air, dragging everybody else of this group along at the moment.
Aiden Pohl losing out the 2 places then. That quickly, it all goes wrong there. But as they fall back into line and run at what is 309 kilometers an hour, nearly 310 in the toe off of the banking, the move is made by Punju to now move on up. That's now P5, but now here comes the side draft back for the Biasino on the outside, so you do have room to defend if you're Strasner trying to go out for it. Now they pinch and push, and you've got to be so careful about how much you deviate with those really chunky rear tyres in play. Strasner holds too deep by Punju. He'll go skittering across the kitty litter, and now is going to lose contact with that group entirely, and off goes Strasner into the grass trying to save it, hold on to the Bronco, and he manages just to survive.
Yeah, I think they both sort of spooked each other out of that one. I think they were both terrified of what the other driver was going to do. And ironically, Punju's going for the move now up into Ascari. Can he get it done? I think it'll be side by side through Ascari as well. So the battle carries on. Punju's got the outside. He'll have to give it up. But Strasser over the curb. We've mentioned that one before. Team McMurdoch fell foul to it a couple of laps earlier. But now Punju has got past and Strasser has lost 3 positions in the course of 1 lap. But yeah, I think they both sort of were tense on the wheel, and turning into the corner they just both lost it at the same time. Punju didn't make the corner. Strasner had the poor exit out of the corner, but it had the same result of they dropped back, and Aiden Pohl up to P5 as a result.
Yeah, and Guat's then having a very torrid time at the Ascari chicane, going all over the place, trying to avoid contact, and just about, and I mean just about, manages to avoid having any more troubles. Joshima's, by the way, is down in pit lane at the moment, and I wonder whether that is a case of car hasn't decided to be a car, but Joshima's right now is in a world of hurt, and I think that's going to be the end of the Joshima's run out there, lap 21 here of 31 at the moment. Matt 212 trying to hunt down, has broken away here from Monkey Matt. So Matt 212 winning the game of best Matt here, now 2 seconds clear.
Yeah, both of the mats have such a qualified sort of adaptableness to drive these cars fast. Both of them have done a lot of rallying or a lot of old school classic driving, so they know exactly what's up here, as we've got Razin fighting with Aiden once again. So these two will be trying to use that slipstream, or at least trying to not battle too much. I'd sort of hope that they won't battle too much, because they've got a chance at a podium here, to be honest. And also Razin trying to beat Alex Gillen as well. That will be in the back of his head also. As you can see, the correct way to set up these cars is to get them sort of sliding, if not drifting, into the corner. You don't want any type of understeer, as you want to apply the power as much as possible on the exit and get the wheels sort of slightly spun up so that you're completely flat out once you hit the curb on the outside. It does mean that it leaves little margin of error in terms of driving, but oh, it looks so spectacular. But yeah, going back to what we were saying before, sadly these cars did have a little bit of a habit of becoming airplanes during some races, and that's why the regulations were changed afterwards. But we do love seeing the driving of these ultra downforce cars, as they can take so much speed into the corners for a 70s car that, you know, sometimes it is quite ridiculous.
It is wonderful to see how quick they went, and this is, of course, a car that was truly the philosophy of Colin Chapman out there, one of the great legendary designers in the world of racing. And this car really does say, add speed and a bit of lightness as well. Matt 212 has now lost that 2-second margin. Monkey Matt has found his way straight back. So Matt 212 dropping the time. I can only imagine he's had a mistake on track, and I believe the mistakes have been he just couldn't carry the same speed through the two Lesmo corners. Here comes Monkey Matt to move to the inside now, but he will not have the banking advantage then, which will be allowing to carry the speed a little bit better if you're Matt 212 off the exit.
All depends the exit they get off of this bump, and you could see that Matt 212 had the better exit. I think Monkey Matt had to just do a tiny bit of a lift, as the insides there seems to be a little bit more of a bump. So we have to have a look. I think we're going to get a replay of what happened to Matt 212 here. So on the grass, I think, on the exit of Lesmo 1 and then into Lesmo 2, just not carrying the speed, basically. That means that Monkey Matt can just cruise up to the back. You can see the overspeed there, and that is very unfortunate. But again, it could have gone so much worse, as Matt 212 does indeed defend. But he's done the same mistake twice, and that means that Monkey Matt will have all of the confidence to go for it. The Cookie Monster might be nibbling another car into Ascari here. Yeah, I think Matt 212 might not have the full confidence in the car. Just a little bit of context, as I don't think Monkey Matt's going to go for an overtake. No, he slots in behind, but he's all over that, let's call it a diffuser of the car, very basic diffuser in the time for the Venturi tunnels that you can see on the rear there. This Lotus 79 car was the second iteration by Colin Chapman. The 78 car was the first attempt at sort of, I don't want to call it active, not active aero, but like ground effect cars in all their genres. As I thought they were going to go for an overtake there, but well defended by Matt 212. The 78 was kind of like a trial car. They didn't know how it would work. It was a very basic model. It had a lot of problems. And so the engineers redesigned it, as we're about to go too wide once again through the banking, so I'll keep it short as possible. The 79 car was so dominant in the 77 year and onto 78 that basically all the teams had to change and scrap their ongoing philosophies to copy the Lotus 79 and 78, and it led to a whole new series of cars that just eventually, in less than a season actually, made the 79 redundant, and so they had to develop the Lotus 80 and ongoing. So it was kind of like an arms race in the series.
Certainly was, as Tiamat Marduk is officially out along with Joshima's out there at this point in time. Monkey Matt still on the inside, not much can be done. Gwatz, by the way, just became the first driver to have a drive-through penalty. So that's why you saw that pop up on the right-hand side of your screen, because he had a drive-through penalty that he had just served. They've only got 2.5 seconds here to Alex Gillen, who's in 4th position. Then it's Racing Chai and Aidan Paul, but through the Biasino and over to the Della Roggia again. Monkey Matt is the one who's being more passive here, is lifting out, is not wanting to challenge into certain corners. Matt 2-on-2, and Matt can take so much advantage of Matt, deciding that Matt wants to be a little bit more passive than the aggressive Matt. Confusing much?
The gap to the leader is now nearly 12 seconds. I mean, either they're lifting and coasting a little bit, or B-Roy has found another gear somewhere, because that is a crazy gap. Maybe B-Roy has just looked at the fuel and just thinking, I'm not going to make it to the end anyway, so I'm going to push absolutely flat out and hope for the best. Hopefully I can get that pit gap. But with 30 seconds pit gap, you've got to really take everything into consideration. All of these drivers, I think, pitted under the second safety, or under the first safety car for some of them. So they must be getting close to empty now, as they might only have a couple of laps in the tank.
And so the push is going to be significant here. Sparks, who of course had to make that pit stop, thought about a look over to the inside on Super Noodle Bagel, gets the pass done but overshoots and just about gathers it back up. Now here's the up and under to the up and under to the up and under. Super Noodle Bagel, I think, is going to realise Sparks is a bit quick out there today, and so he is really flying and trying to find position, thinks about a look back here at Parabolica, and can only sit and watch as Sparks moves on up into P14. It's about 5 seconds or so, in fact I'll correct myself, about 2.5 over to Brendan Hyperstar, who sits in that 13th place.
A bit of a surprise from Brendan, because he was so fast in qualifying that, he's dropped back in the race. Whether he's elected to not repair damage at some point, or whether he's just struggling with the higher fueled cars in the race, or even with tyre wear, it is possible. Something has gone amiss with that car, and he's definitely not enjoying it at the moment. Stuck behind Rift Blondie, who's up to P12, it must be said, with the damage there. So as we've got Monkey Matt and Matt 2-on-2 going for overtakes here. So finally Monkey Matt has decided he's had enough, staring at the back of the Tolman car there, Tolman liveried car of Matt 2-1-2, and they're going to go side by side.
Safety car!
Safety car deployed, indeed. We've had an incident, but I do not see who it was.
No, I don't see it either, and so that's going to be huge as they've gone through. Actually, I do see smoke as they have gone through the opening section of corner there. So I think it's actually Hayden Gullis who's missing a front wheel potentially. Yes, it is. Hayden Gullis missing a front left wheel has gone into the barriers at Lesmo number 1, and he's come together with Gwatz. So those two have come together, and a late safety car then might be the saving grace of everybody at the front who thought they are a little bit shy on fuel.
Yeah, that has been the saving grace for everybody, but yeah, definitely not optimal to lose a front wheel there. And yeah, for Hayden, I think he's just lost it at Lesmo 1, and that is, okay. We've got cars carrying on here. That's not what I expected. So maybe a split strategy carrying on here, or maybe is it possible that a few cars have got enough fuel to get to the end? A lot of people in the pits though, so I think we'll just be seeing how this all pans out. We've got to catch the safety car. There it is. Well, as I talk about it, it appears in shot. That was not practiced right there, just a coincidence, as we have 3 cars that have carried on indeed, but the majority, as you can see by the timing screen, in the pits at the moment. But yeah.
I want to try and get an eye on Elzendriani, because I think the wheel's just completely gone for her there. The wheels have just gone hard to the left with a disconnect, had to take a tow back to pits. What a disaster right on the safety car.
Oh, what a terrible shame. Terrible, terrible shame. That's unfortunate. And, you know, sometimes it can be out of your control. Sometimes, you know, technical problems happen in real life. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. So, that's what happened to Hayden. That's not great. Who is that also? Another driver in Gwatz, yeah. So, yeah, unfortunate. And, yeah, that is not drivable, clearly. The front wheel missing. I think he may have tried to carry on. Did he try and carry on? I think he's driven it all the way
He brought it back
round,
to pits like that.
Did brought it. Oh, wait, credit to him. And there you can see the car. The mechanics are great, to be fair. They can get a full wheel mounted onto the car. And back out on circuit. I bet you they wish they were able to do it in real life like that after certain. Let's see. This is still a replay, I think.
So that's the issue that you find. They came together. It was a case of Hayden Gullis was in the middle of the corner and Gwatz had his moment, and the pair of them both found themselves in the barrier. So late drama being found out there on circuit. Not long left. B-Roy, who was monstering clear at the front, now has Matt 2-on-2, Monkey Matt, and Infratic behind as the next stages as they go on through now in fourth. Ryan L83 is going to be the threat, though. He's fifth.
Yeah, indeed, Ryan, all the way back up there. And definitely in terms of quali pace, he was all the way in the mix. Kamikaze appearing on the leaderboard once again there, P13, so I think he's benefited from that
Alex Gillen's further dropped.
What, yeah, what the heck is going on here? As I think Hayden also going for some overtakes behind the safety cars. This is an interesting one. Are they
they're lapped down,
so they can get the pass around? Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough.
They just got to make sure that it's communicated, that they find a way to the front. They are allowed to take their lap back, and that is going to be the goal of Gwatz and Hayden Gullis, and B-Roy's going to have to leave them the space for that to happen. So Gwatz goes through, car 99 and 83, let car 12 by. So that is the words that have been put through, and so they will work into that and move it on through. But we're now going to be in with a real sprint scenario in the late stages of this race, knowing that in the final stages, it's gloves off, it's knuckle dusters on. You just have to stay with the car in front and go for moves when you can.
B-Roy has stayed out. I just want to point that out. So B-Roy was one of the cars that did not pit, if I remember correctly. So he obviously calculated that he's got enough fuel, but he hasn't pitted in forever. He's the front three have only done one pit stop, along with Riff Blondie, as far as I can see. So we've got 4 cars here that have, I think, been part of the first safety car pit stops, and they think they've got enough fuel to get to the end. So this will put our calculations into a little bit of a discrepancy here. I'm as lost as I think everybody else would be on that strategy. I'm convinced they don't have enough fuel to get to the end.
So this is an interesting scenario that they now find themselves in. I would say that because they're running reduced speed right now, they are saving a bit more fuel, and because of this safety car, they think they can get home on the stop. So that's probably where they are at the moment, and I think this is now a really interesting case of who can go out there and be aggressive, because if B-Roy, Matt 2-on-2 and Monkey Matt can't be aggressive out there and have to mind their P's and Q's, a driver like Infratic or Ryan L83 or Brendan Hyperstar, who's now up into 8th, Riff Blondie as well, you can include in that, they've got a great chance now of running the gauntlet through in the final few laps of the race, John.
Yeah, for sure. It resets everything to 0, doesn't it? As long as you've got the tyres and the fuel to get to the end of the race. Basically, you can be, as we said earlier on, this is now the 5-lap sprint where you have to go for position. If you crash, you crash. You know, at the end of the day, you have to make the moves work. And especially for Ryan and indeed Kamikaze, who's a bit further down the order, you have the pace to push through the pack. It's just about finding the gaps And as we've seen today, that is all too difficult, as the first 2 turns are literally banked turns. So could we see? I thought we had a car going off there in the background. I think that might have been Sparks just warming up the tires a little bit more. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, because you kind of have to reset and act as if this is another race start effectively. So you've been doing all of that, conserving the car and the fuel's not going too aggressive, and now you've got to just make the moves work. And the question is now, do you have that race knowledge to dive up the inside into, for example, Lesmo 1, or do you attempt another place? Have you got the measure of your rivals? We're about to find out, that's for sure.
It's all about scenario. It's all about sitting down and realizing you don't have many laps left in your back pocket. You've just got to go out there and drive it as if you stole it, basically, is the way to go about it. Just run and drive, and just do not find yourself caught out in any troubles. We are waiting for the likes then of Elzin Driani, Alex Gillen, Hayden Gullis, Gwatts to find the back of the pack once again. Tiamat Marduk too. And if those drivers hit the back of the pack, we're in a position where we can go back to green flag running, and we will hit lap 27. So I'd expect lap 28 most likely is going to be when we go back to that running, and that will leave just 4 laps, just 40 kilometers to figure out who's on top and who can find a victory. It is that close at the moment here with where everyone thinks they're going to be, and I would say this is where opportunity knocks. What is your strategy if you're at the front like your B-Roy? Are you going to be able to break away and give yourself a margin early?
Well, I mean, they're at the lowest fuel, technically, I'd presume, so they do have a bit of a pace advantage. Whether they can make that work with the slipstream, I have no idea. I'm just looking at the stints here. Monkey Matt has done 26 laps in his current stint, and B-Roy and Matt at 212 on 25 laps, so same as Riff Blondie. So they've done a considerable amount of laps, both on those tires and on that fuel. So I consider that they just want to remain out and be comfortable. Obviously, if you add more fuel, you're changing the balance of the car, you're changing how the car feels. So if you've been able to pull a gap and maybe save a little bit of fuel, then it's more an incentive to stay out and just keep with what you're comfortable with. But yeah, definitely this extended safety car period, as I think that's Tiamat Marduk approaching the end of the safety car queue here. So yeah, hopefully our drivers have calculated well, because I want to see a good old-fashioned race to the finish. And I think, is that safety car in this lap?
Lap tires may unlap themselves on the left. So coming out of the oval, hold the right, lap tires may pass on the left.
More lap cars then being allowed to unlap themselves, so that would be the likes of Tiamat Marduk, for example, being allowed to unlap, and you've got only Tiamat Marduk being allowed to unlap. But I think as far as it goes, everyone's going to fall into line by that comparison. Joshima's as well, who is back out there 4 laps down, is going to have the ability to unlap. So that will bring them away and out of position then. So they're allowed to move through and get themselves over to the back of the line. And then once that's all done, I would assume here, John, that we're back to running here. We're still waiting for the official word of safety car will be in this lap.
Tiamat Marduk is not unlapping himself, though. This is what I'm noticing. He's hanging back, actually, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, whether there's a miscommunication. And in fact, he's dropped all the way off the back of the safety car.
Safety car in this lap.
Yeah, I appreciate Gareth's clarification there at the bottom. I do agree. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, so he's letting cars pass, which is the complete opposite of unlapping yourself. So, yeah, question mark. I'll take your word on this, Jake. What do you think's happening?
Well, Tiamat Marduk, I think, is trying to get himself to the back of the group to try and keep himself out of trouble in this scenario, and give himself a few friends to surround himself. He's allowed a clue. He's allowed to not have a clue. He's just there, and he is just trying to do his best, which is all he can do in the scenario that has been gifted to him. So with the safety car coming in this lap and leaving ourselves with 4 laps of racing to go, it is B-Roy, Matt 212, Monkey Matt, and Aidan Pole, who is your front 4. Infratic is 5th, Ryan L83 in 6th, then Riff Blondie, Brendan Hyperstar, Super Noodle Bagel, and Racing Chai making up your top 10. Even the safety car is needing to put some tyre temperature in at the moment, weaving about as it pulls away from B-Roy, who will have control of the field. Matt 212's got to be a lot more aggressive and alert to this restart. He has got to have eyes like a hawk at the moment. The safety car will pull in right.
Safety car in.
And down in onto the lane. Pace in control of B-Roy, and they are really trying to wait as long as possible. It seems at this moment they'll have just 4 laps to figure it out. Now B-Roy goes.
Whoa, that was another great launch, wasn't it? Matt 212 getting caught once again, the second time this race. And that means that B-Roy just can scarp her way into the distance. Look at Monkey Matt all the way onto the gearbox of Matt 212, going up the outside of the banking. And now we're seeing the overtakes for position here. As we've got Aidan Paul and Ryan L83 fighting as well. Huge overtakes going with Razin and Super Noodle Bagel in the background as well. Whole gaggle of cars there fighting for position on the banking there, as we've got so much action, so many people desiring to prove that they have the pace. We've got near enough of 4 wide in the background there in the midfield. Brendan Hyperstar getting involved as well in that one, as Strasner trying to get the advantage. He's just been overtaken as well. So yeah, incredible scenes. Hopefully they can all make it through the banking. Once again, it looks like they're all behaving.
For the lead, it's a battle of 2 Matts trying to get by B-Roy, and it's Matt 212 on the outside looking to make that. Racing Chai with tyres in the grass there in the back of shot, but for the moment B-Roy having to work out where to defend, and the next 2 are going to join. That's Ryan L83 and Aidan Pole, who are there now in 3rd and 4th. They'll scrap to the Della Roggia, going at full bore, trying to go through. 1 and 2, bang! 1, 2, 3, 4, all in trouble, all with drama. Monkey Matt survives.
Oh my days, that was a very, very big impact, and something that they couldn't have done. They were in the turn, they were committed to the course, and that was a huge impact for everybody there. And the midfield there is still having contact in the background.
No safety car, by the way.
No safety car deployed. Clearly not needed. It was a very minor incident there, as you can see, but a lot of cars getting involved there as well. And Brendan Hyperstar, I think, collecting the worst of it, as I think he's got major damage on the car, as away goes Monkey Matt in the lead, and Kamikaze is all the way up to P2. Oh, contact Alex Gillen and El Tacoman, I think that is, and Alex getting away with it, but El Tacoman in the barriers. Was it, or was it somebody else?
It was El Tacoman.
I think it was El Tacoman, but Alex Gillen getting away with it, but maybe damage on the car. He's very slow into Parabolica, as battling is that with Team McMurdoch. No, it's Encephalosis battling. So yeah, Encephalosis just giving way to the cars that are just punching into each other. We've got a person in the pits there with too much damage, I think, and that's Riff Blondie
penalties.
in the pit. And penalties as well. Oh, dearie me.
Joshima's penalty, Riff Blondie penalty, Alex Gillen's got a penalty, and Infratic's got a penalty. That's all for incident point out there, so they will all have to serve that, or it'll be added on at the end of the race as a 40-second time penalty as they cross the line. So as it goes, Monkey Matt is 3.3 seconds clear with 3 laps to go. Kamikaze is second, Matt 212 in third, and this the scrap for 4th on screen as Sparks has found a way back and through on Super Noodle Bagel.
Sparks has got it flying. The sparks are flying, sorry for the pun, but he was the fastest driver on track mid-race, and he really wants to show that now, side by side with Super Noodle Bagel. And you've got to give him the commitment for just coming back through the field, as look at that gap that Monkey Matt has. Kamikaze trying to defend second place, or indeed trying to attack, as he's broken the gap to a Matt 212, as it's about to become a 3-wide battle with Encephalosis getting into the mix. Once again, just as I said, he was going to lead. Is it? Was it Team Marduk? Yes, it must be. Must be Team Marduk. He's a lap down, but he's causing chaos. Yes, he is. Oh, dearie me, Team Marduk. But I don't blame him, to be fair. You want to get it in on the racing action. But that does mean that Sparks has managed to get a little bit of a gap now. He wants to get the pedal to the metal. As we've got racing all up and down the field, as Hayden Gullis, ironically, having caused the safety car, he's up to P7.
Well, that certainly worked out there, and it certainly played into the hands of those drivers out there at this point. And Gullis down the inside of Alex Gillen, who's got the black flag penalty. Car 77 in P7. Now have to go through, but Hayden goes for a roller coaster ride over the junior circuit there on the right-hand side. And Punju in the back goes for a spin into the tyres.
Yeah, and I think he's got major damage there. As I saw, the rear wheel was just not doing what it should do. I think, will he have to get to the pits? It looks like that car is crabbing monstrously. A lot of damage on these cars as Ancephalosis goes past. He's got a lot of damage where you can see the car just crabbing through the corners. Fastest lap by Kamikaze. He's got the pedal to the metal. 2.7 seconds. Are there enough laps? We're on the penultimate lap. But can he do anything about it? 2.5 seconds now. He is motoring along.
Well, he's got to get to 1.5 and he'll start feeling the benefits of the slipstream. He was 1.2 seconds quicker on that last lap. He will be in range on the final lap. And Monkey Matt right now with Cookie Monster on the front of the car is going to now be a very, very concerned driver out there. Matt 2-on-2, fending for a podium now against Sparks, is going to have to do everything in his power to hold him back, because Sparks spent a lot of this time at the front of the field, and now here comes the look over to the outside to try and pick this move off into the Biasino at turn number, what is normally known as turn 3 on this track, and trying to find a way to jump through and gain that place through the long right-hander, and on the curb, and hold on, Matt loses out.
Oh, did also want to point out that was a bit of great save, but wanted to point out as well, we had 3 separate groups of drivers there going side by side down the start-finish straight.
Oh, big one!
I believe it. Yeah, big one there. I'm not exactly sure who that is.
Team
who's
Marduk.
on the order. Team Marduk. No, hopefully he's not collected anybody there with him, but I saw 2 cars there. Super unfortunate. Just trying to get those last couple of tenths of a second out at the end of the race, and it has not ended well for them. But Aidan Pold dropping down the order as well. I think it was Aidan Pold that's been collected here, although that might be a timing issue.
Just getting word that all the black flag penalties which are out there are being cleared. So they are free to race to the end without penalties being applied to the end, which means Alex Gillen now has been given a lease of life against Hayden Gullis, for example. And now with Kamikaze trying to chase, look at that gap, 1.6 seconds. It finds itself at the moment. Monkey Matt is going to be under an immense amount of pressure. Last lap starts here at Monza, and Monkey Matt looking to try and make his name as the first winner of a Creator Series race on iRacing. Now has to fend off Kamikaze, who is going lightning fast to try and chase. Sparks with the fastest lap of the race is not going to be in position. He's too far back, but it is Kamikaze now who's trying to hunt this down. 1.2 seconds is the margin now at the front of the field, and moving over to the inside to try and shake the draft. The tiny little serpentine starts to make itself known, and Monkey Matt knows it here because that gap's going to come down to 1.1, and it is going to absolutely fly along this back stretch down compared to what he's had previously. On board we go with Kamikaze, who knows that it is going to be do or die by the time he gets to Parabolica corner. Monkey Matt is needing to be hunted down, and look at the face of concentration there by Kamikaze. He is just locked in, and he says, right, in the zone, lads, let's go and get this sorted. To 9/10 of a second through the Biasino, and now heading to the Della Roggia. How is your left foot, Monkey Matt, on the brakes as he goes through hard as they go through in towards this first of 2 Lesmo corners, and you are sensing the nerves that are there, the slight corrections that have to be made through the corners. Monkey Matt still there, still holding that margin of 0.8 of a second. Kamikaze's going to need a bit of help here from the Ascari corner, and if it isn't anything but perfect from Monkey Matt, then he's going to be safe. Kamikaze knows he needs to find some pace, and he is charging hard for it. Dives into the corner and now pulls that gap to 0.4 of a second. Wide though through the middle, and that will take 0.3 out off of the exit. Monkey Matt at the moment just needs Parabolica to count his lucky stars because he knows that he was given everybody in an incident. Everybody found themselves out except him, the only one who survived. At the end of the day, it's going to be Monkey Matt who will come to the line and take the Creator Series opener here at Monza.
Literal goosebumps. I cannot believe it. What a race from those front two. Monkey Matt, well deserved because he just kept it clean. Kamikaze, what a rebound. Sparks is going to complete the podium after all of that, with Matt 2-on-2 just missing out, and Hayden Gullis, after all of that, after being in the wall, after losing a wheel, P5. I cannot quite believe it. Alex Gillen, P6, after getting into so many little bits of contact after, well, not necessarily his fault, but he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Elzindriani, sorry, P9 we're looking at right now, just about in the middle of nowhere as we see El Taco Man and Brendan Hyperstar in front there. So a lot of gaps here as people that have damage on the car. You can see the car not necessarily pointing in a straight line anymore. That is how attritional this race has been, but just incredible driving from everybody to get to the end of the race and to keep persevering, because that had so many ups and downs as across the line to take a top 10 result. That is worth applause in itself.
Monkey Matt getting the job done, racing from New Zealand, by the way. So good morning. What a way to start the day. That will be for Monkey Matt getting it done. We shall wait for Infratic, who, as is traditional, it has been over the last couple of cycles of races we've seen from Infratic, will make everybody wait for him to cross the line.
That's harsh. I like it though. That's harsh though. Infratic, you know, what a race from him, really. I think just got a little bit unlucky with some of the collisions, as everybody else did. You know, he was minding his own business for half of the race, and then, you know, all of a sudden just cars collide in front of him and he just gets collected. So you know, well done for getting to the end. But I must admit, yeah, sadly the same story as in other series, that's for sure. But you know, there's more races to make amends. That's the good news.
Brilliant racing all around, but confirmation here. Monkey Matt survives to tell the tale in 1 hour, 21 minutes and 29 seconds. Wins by 7/10 over Kamikaze, who tried everything to hunt it down and didn't quite have enough time. Sparks will be the last driver on the podium, ahead of Matt 2-on-2, as Hayden Gullis finishes off in 5th, ahead of Alex Gillen. It's then El Taco Man who finishes off in 7th, ahead of Brendan Hyperstar, who had a little bit of an anonymous day today, in 8th place, with Ancephalosis in 9th, and Els Indriani dealing with issues with the wheel, apparently, which has been going on for a little while, as I've had information relayed to me. Top 10, though, still is good. Riff Blondie will end up in 11th, with Strasner in 12th. Aidan Pohl will drop back to 13th, ahead of Punju in 14th, and then you've got Super Noodle Bagel and Infratic, your last finishers in this race. 2 laps down would be Rasin Chai with Gwatz and Tiamat Marduk in troubles. B-Roy, who looked like he was going to be favourite, caught in that massive incident, then over through the Della Roggia and over towards Lesmo number 1, with Ryan L83 also out of the race there, with Joshima's 2 making the 22 car field for racing action here today. John, as far as things go, you could not ask for a better start to iRacing and the Creator Series together.
For my first commentary of an iRacing event, that one's pretty special, isn't it? We had everything. We had close racing. We had disastrous contact for some drivers, just demonstrating how difficult the track was, I think, if nothing else. And I think the drivers got the hang of it halfway through, and then we saw the sort of less incidents. But we saw at the last couple of laps, everybody was going at it. And I must say, so unfortunate for Ryan and B-Roy. They were both at the front at some point in the race, and then to have the race ended a few laps early, so unfortunate. But what a duel at the end. That is just the cherry on top of the cake, isn't it?
It really is, and we've seen just how wonderful racing like this has been. And the best bit about it is, next time out, we completely flip the script. We're not stuck with this car. We're not stuck with this track. We get to change it up each and every single week. And I think that is going to build a championship where you've just got to stand up and say, what more can you do to move up to the very, very top level, John.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a case of just trying to keep yourself within the top 5. And that's the beauty of starting a series, actually. You're all going for P1, essentially. And, you know, we will see sometimes in the racing where drivers try to back out of moves and all of that. But this time out, we had just everybody gunning for each other. And, you know, I think there will be some cases, for example, in Rallycross, where you will have unintentionally people going for moves that they don't expect. So it's going to be so interesting to see how people modify their racecraft and their abilities throughout the session. So stay tuned for that, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you jump in with us in 7 days' time, because when we are next with you with iRacing and the Creator Series, we are heading to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Roval course, and we'll be driving in the Toyota GR86s out there, the spiritual successor to the Trudeau AE86, which means the Drift Central car of all Drift Central cars out there. From the entire team that has brought this show to you, from the likes of Gareth Allen, John Isamusing Harris, and myself, Jake Sperry, it's a day of craziness where everybody had to try and stand on a level above everybody else. But on a circuit with such high speed, with such a fine line between in and out, it was everybody around him out. And Monkey Matt, will hold and say, I am in. Monkey Matt will take the championship lead, and we will see you in 7 days when we head over to Charlotte, North Carolina.